Hi, and welcome to a second episode of PwC's Casual Side. My name is Kim, and today we will talk with PwC Luxembourg's Head of HR, Lieven Lambrecht. 2020, an extraordinary year which will go down in history with COVID-19 as a true game changer. We will give you a throwback on what has happened within PwC Luxembourg during this challenging year. Find out if and why we have to rethink our business models and our mindsets in order to transform our challenges into opportunities. Have a first look into how your future workplace could look like at PwC. So without further ado, let's jump right in. So hello Lieven, how are you?
I am very well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me to this podcast. I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you here. I know who you are, Lieven. You are the head of HR here at PwC Luxembourg. I see you just at the corner in the office where my workspace is. But maybe could you just shortly introduce yourself to the audience?
Do you want my whole history? Because that might take the whole podcast. But introducing myself, I've been in HR for something like 35 years. And I've had sort of previously international roles, primarily in the financial services. And it's been a change for me to come here at PwC because it's the first time I work in a partnership. It's the first time I work for, I would say, primarily, although we are very international, a local company in the sort of the length of my career. And yes, it's been so far it's been enormously interesting.
Great. And maybe just could you tell the audience where you're originally from? Because we know Luxembourg is very intercultural, multicultural.
I'm originally from Belgium. My father was from close to Bruges, as my mother, in that respect. But I sort of hopped around in Belgium during my youth and lived in different cities. And then sort of from when I really left home, I've lived in very different cities and very different countries. So I've now made Luxembourg my new home, but previously I've lived in cities like Vienna, Paris, Denver, Atlanta. So a little bit all over the place. And Frankfurt probably latest. I lived 7 years in Frankfurt, so that has left an impression.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yes, I also lived 6 years in London, which was fantastic. Yeah.
And all of them are coming to Luxembourg finally. Like from New York, we had John, New York as well, London,
yes.
And then you as well, London, Frankfurt,
yes.
Everywhere. And now everybody's in Luxembourg.
Yes. But the main reason for me to come to Luxembourg was because it was close to Belgium, and it would not make me travel anymore around the world and spend weekends in Asia in a godforsaken place. Yes, I definitely wanted to reduce travel enormously before I came here. And of course, I've been helped this year with the COVID as travel has become practically impossible.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Let me tell you something else, because people maybe non-professional in that respect. I've been married for 37 years.
Wow, very impressive.
Which is still every day astounding me that when I go home there is still somebody there. Yeah, have 3 kids, have 5 grandchildren as such, with even a 6th on the way, and all my life I've had dogs, so I'm a dog person. Yeah.
That's nice to hear.
Yeah.
We have, I think, a lot of people who have a dog here, like PwC Luxembourg, and yeah. Great. So, thank you for the introduction. And let's dive into 2020. So, this episode is a flashback of 2020. And when we just have a short flashback on like the main events which have taken place, if we think of the fires in Australia, death of George Floyd, the US election and COVID-19, just to mention really a few, I think we agree on the fact that this has been a really challenging year for all of us, like humankind. And when you think back of 2020, what is the first thing you associate with, just spontaneously, not just like thinking, yeah, it was this and that, but really just from your heart, more so to say?
I think the first thing that comes to mind is Hangout. Yeah. It seems to be the thing I've done in 2020. When I look back at 2020, I've spent I don't know how many hours on
You
Hangout.
mean Google Hangout, just for
Google
the audience?
Hangout.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not hanging around
Hangouts,
the
yeah.
corner. No, it was really Google Hangout. So this is probably the most permanent thing in my day. Yeah. And the second thing would be the sentence that I've heard most in
I know.
and you probably know what
Yes.
it is. You're on mute. Yeah.
Exactly.
So
Sentence of the year.
yeah, that's the sentence of the year. That's like the word of the year. Every day 5 people tell me you're on mute. Yeah. So which is sort of that is I won't say that is 2020 for me. That's not true, but that is something that really is a very different way of working, I think, and a very different way of living. Because I even had now hangouts with my kids and with family and with friends, which is just not thinkable, 10 months ago.
Yeah, that's true. But it makes it also easier in terms of getting in touch and in contact with people from different countries, continents.
Yes.
So we do not have to travel that much. So maybe in the future we will use it even more. Who knows? Like more the
Yes.
hangout meetings rather than just
Yes,
traveling
yes.
to London, for example,
Yeah.
so to say.
Very true. Very true. I got together with the colleagues of 20 years ago on a hangout. And we felt we all had to sort of support each other, even though we always worked virtually, even 20 years ago. We sort of felt, well, let's get together, which was then again virtual because we live all over the place. Yeah. And it was actually a lot of fun.
I can guess.
It was a lot of fun, but it again was very, very COVID style, if I can
For
sort
sure.
of call it that way. So,
But you
yes.
also have to get creative, and this is also the great part of it, like
Yes.
reimagine the possible again, like how can we interact with people
Yes.
on a daily basis.
yes, very true, very true.
And when we come back to COVID-19, you mentioned it like previously, do you think, or do you see it as a chance for us as well as human beings?
I think, with all things happening in history, that sort of, or an inclination or an inflection point, yeah, you sort of have an opportunity to do things differently, yeah. And I think COVID certainly has shown us that there are very different ways of doing things that we thought were quite normal, yeah.
For example?
For example, commuting to work. We all lived for decades through commuting to work, and we thought that was all very normal to get up and then get on a bus or get in a car or get on a train, and work was a place you went to. Mm-hmm. Where all of a sudden that is no longer the case. Work is something you do. Commuting is like, why would you do that? Yeah, it's like seems so. All these enormous, how would I say, hours that I spent in commuting, yeah, all of a sudden now seem, why did we do this?
And we do it a lot here in Luxembourg, just to mention that maybe.
Yes. Luxembourg is like the place of the world to commute.
Yes,
yeah.
because we have so many close
Yeah.
countries who work here, from Belgium, France, Germany.
Yes, very true. Very true. So that is something, yes, is that an opportunity? I think it's a big opportunity. I think it's also shown us that technology is no longer just something that facilitates your work, yeah, but it's something now that is more dictating how you work. Yeah? 10 years ago, technology would have been something that would help you make a decision or something, or get information or send an email or whatever it is. Nowadays, you cannot do anything but through technology. So the digital fluency has become sort of the most important aspect of anybody in the world, whether you're trying to watch television, yeah, or trying to make a phone call or all of these things. It is all pure technology.
And who knows where it will go one day. Maybe we can talk to our mirror one day. We never know, and then.
Well, I've always been fascinated by technology, yeah, and I always thought, technology will even though it might be from a philosophical standpoint neutral in what really the human is. On the other hand, for me, it sort of has helped the human evolve a lot faster. And everything that is artificial intelligence fascinates me enormously. I am hoping that someday I'll be able to extend my brain by I don't know how many times. Yeah? So just through artificial intelligence. I also hope that by the time I'm old and I really need physical help, I'll have a sort of a cobot, a sort of a robot that will help me do all the things that I can't do anymore. Yeah? Because I think that's probably where the world will slowly evolve to. And I see that more with confidence than with sort of, how would I say, not despair or sort of thinking, the old times were better. That's not really true. One of the things I really understand is that today we live a lot better than Louis XIV in his chateau. We have a lot more comfort than he ever had, and we can truly live like kings today, yeah, and even better. And I think for the future for humanity, I think with the pure creativity of the human mind, and I think the technology, of course, that will enable some of these things, I see it pretty bright. Yeah, I'm not a dooms type of person thinking that technology will run the world and we'll get into a scenario.
So you're not afraid? Okay.
Oh, I'm not afraid at all. I don't think ever. When I was really, really young, there was a movie where you had people going into space, a space odyssey, yeah, and that sort of at a certain point in time, HAL, the computer, took over. I'm not afraid at all of this. Yeah, no.
That's great. But in terms of afraid, maybe in terms of our beautiful planet, do you think that COVID-19 also changed, like, to give us a chance to change our mindsets? How we're treating the planet, how we're living, how we're consuming. Do you think that there is something also changing?
Yes, and I think the pandemic is sort of showing probably our weakness on a number of fronts, and it is also probably showing certain people that the health of this planet and the health of everybody is the foremost, most important thing that we have, and that we need to conserve. I think where we sort of were looking at television 20 years ago of an oil spill or whatever it was, we thought it was, well, it doesn't really touch us. It's somewhere in, in any sort of sea where we never come, and it doesn't really, does anything to us. While today I see this is very different. I do understand we do not have a planet B. And, if you pollute, you pollute, whether you pay for it or not pay for it, whether you're taxed for it or not, the pollution stays. And I think the mindset here is starting to change a little. And certainly if I hear Bob Moritz say we want to go to net zero by 2030, and me, myself thinking, well, maybe that's even too late, yeah?
What is this 2023?
Well, the net zero 2030 would be that our PVC would be carbon neutral by that time, yeah?
Okay.
I think we're probably not ambitious enough. I think we can be probably a little bit faster, certainly here in Luxembourg. We can do this a little bit faster. But then again, and I do not have to sort of lecture people on watching documentaries of Richard Attenborough or any of these people, sort of to understand in what state our planet really is and what we've been doing to it. Yeah, and it's hard to sort of say what the future will bring in this respect. But I think humans really need to start realizing the impact that they have on the planet.
I think they do.
Not yet. I think we're still doing a lot of things
That for sure.
that aren't really helping the planet.
No, that's true. Yeah.
So I don't think we've
but
come
the
to a point.
consciousness is there. The consciousness is there, I would say.
Yes, it's growing.
It's more
I think it's growing.
Yes,
yeah?
exactly.
Yeah.
More sensible.
Yeah, it's growing. Yeah.
And a chance for PwC. Do you think that this crisis, COVID-19, is also a chance for PwC?
I think so. I think in two ways. I think it allows us to reinvent ourselves, yeah? And to rejuvenate ourselves in terms of thinking and approaching the market. I think it creates a lot of new opportunities because if there's one thing I've learned is, well, never waste a good crisis. You know, there's plenty of things you can do after crisis because you're kind of, again, having a white sheet that you can start scribbling on again. So I think for PwC here, certainly there's plenty of opportunities. I think there will be new avenues, new business prospects, new business models, new business avenues. I think we can certainly, if we are bold enough to venture into this and courageous enough to be the first, yeah, I think there's plenty of things we can do.
Okay, then we're very much looking forward to it, to see what will evolve. But not just talking about chances. What about the challenges that PwC faced during this last year, 2020?
Well, I don't know on what call I was lately that people said you can no longer use the word challenge.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You need to see it as opportunity, yeah. But if I look at sort of what we went through, I think, you know, with looking back at it, it wasn't at all so bad. Yeah. Maybe I'm being a little bit more.
But does the word challenge really mean something bad? Like I can challenge myself. I don't know. For example, in sports.
Yes, I understand what you mean. No, it doesn't have to be bad. Yeah, but if you talk about challenge, it's something that you talk about. It could be sort of an occasion you could fail in. Yeah, and here I think I think we've risen really to the challenge, where if you look at just from a pure business perspective, we've done reasonably well, certainly compared to others in the market. If you look at, I think, our well-being and our people well-being, well, we might not have been there as successful because the second wave, I think, has really left its mark on people. I think there we sort of suffered the last 4 months, I think, more from a psychological aspect. That's I think what I see. I see people getting very tired.
Yes.
I see people getting very tensed, and I see people sort of on the edge of how much longer do I need to work in this way because it doesn't really satisfy my basic human needs. And I think that's where I think one of the biggest big opportunities, but also big challenges lie. When I was talking to one of my friends, he said, you know what the big opportunity is for me? Now people will start thinking what the office should be.
Yes.
And what it should be used for. And me, as an introvert, yeah, I will finally get rid of all these stupid landscape benches, and I'll be able to go work in an environment where I don't have all these different noises all the time around my head, but I can work like a real human, respected human being. Yeah?
Yes.
If I have some other friends who are extroverts, and they can't wait to go back to all the noise,
yes, and
the telephone calls and the busyness and sort of the brainstorming and all of that, which is just horrific for
others.
Yeah. So it's there's opportunities.
And the opportunity is to find the balance between those two.
I think so. I think the real balance going forward anyway will sort of be how can we as a company provide ways of working that would align with the individual needs. Yeah, and everybody's different, and everybody will ask something different. So I'm looking forward to a very versatile new working environment that will allow for all these different kind of people to work efficiently and work happily, without too much stress and noise, for that matter. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So just continuing this point. So things will need to change. I think
Yes.
this is nothing to mention there. Our footprints as individuals, but as well as a firm, need to become even more sustainable. That's what we
Yes.
said also with the commuting
Yes.
solutions.
Yes.
So you said business models need to be rethought. What do you think? What might they look like in the future?
Good. I think we're looking at sort of we're going to be going in the age of the hybrid, I would think, which is sort of everybody will not work one way or another way. I think everybody will work in very different ways. So will our clients. Yeah? So to be able to work with some clients, I think some things will be physical, other things will be virtual. Meeting with clients will also be, I think, a mix of these different things. I also see the sort of the coming of age of very different office types or environments where you receive clients. Yeah.
For example, what would that look like?
if you look at if you look at our client space as we have it today, where there's a table in the middle, we're all sitting around a little table, and we're all gonna drink either a coffee from the coffee machine, or some water coming out of the fridge, with sort of a beamer overhead and where we all stare at and brainstorm. I don't think that will work in the future.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think.
Will it be more like green juices and I don't
Well,
know?
I think you will probably see a more spaced out environment where the table isn't really the table anymore. I don't think there will be. It will be a little individual table, I think, attached to your chair. Your chairs will be far apart. I think the environment will be a little bit more inviting and less formal in that respect. I would think so, because you will be looking for an experience when you go in this. Yeah, you won't be going for a specific just business result. Yeah? You'll be looking for an experience, and I think that's where I think the real change will come. I think people will be starting to look for, how can I have a great client experience? Yeah, how can I have a great work experience or team experience? I think that will change. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So very innovative, I would say, and.
Well, I think different. Yeah.
But coffee will remain, you think, or
I think the
change coffee for something different?
Well, you know what? When I was, 20 years ago, coffee was just coffee. Yeah. Today, it's no longer just coffee. It is.
It's a whole.
It is like it's a science. Yeah, it's a science, and I remember that there was just Colombian coffee and Arabic coffee. Yeah?
No. Today we have so many different tastes.
With Indian flavors and whatever. You can go for anything and everything. Yeah. So yes, I think that won't go away. Yeah.
Okay. Great. In terms of recruitment for PwC or in general for corporate service firms, I would say. Will this change in the future? I mean, in terms of not how many people are we hiring, it's like what kind of mindsets are we looking for? What skills do people need to bring with them if they would like to join a company like PwC?
Yeah, let me first think of skills, because that's probably the easier question. Where we used to hire people with a certain knowledge, and then sort of when they arrived here tried to teach some technology, I think it's going to be the other way around. We're going to be looking for people being digitally fluent, and we're going to teach them something they need to know from a professional standpoint. So instead of looking for somebody with a, I would say, strong law degree to do corporate tax, we might be looking for somebody who is digitally very strong, whatever he comes from, meaning whether he studied history or geography or mathematics or technology or whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. But somebody there very strong that has an interest in law and has an interest in tax.
But when you say digitally strong, for me that means that the person needs to study something digital, so to say.
Yes.
So it means that I have to study law, for example, and next to this also something with digitalization. I don't know, informatics.
Yes. Yes. And I cheated a little bit on the questions you were going to ask, and you a little bit further down the page had a question sort of quoting me of something I wrote a number of years ago. Yeah.
Yes, we're coming to that.
Well, we can come that to a little bit later. But what I really, really do believe is that because the work environment is so different, and the what we will demand of people in terms of skills is so different. Normally we will start hiring in different pools. But I also think that everything that has to do with the education of the people that we are currently hiring will also drastically change.
Okay.
I also think in that respect, these people, you won't be able to compare a lawyer graduating, in 10 years with a lawyer that graduated 30 years ago. It will have nothing, nothing. Because it will have not as much in common as we think.
Yeah, because otherwise it could be kind of scary if you it means that you will have to study two things in order to have the profile we need, so to say.
Yes.
But I agree, then maybe the study programs need to change, or will change for sure as well.
They will have to change. When I was 12 years old, what they taught me was Latin and then Greek and then another language, German.
You're using it, Latin and Greek today?
When I really am cross, I write emails in Latin to people. Yeah.
Okay.
When I'm really, really bad-tempered, you can because it calms me down. Yeah. And as Google Translate is well, as long as people, use Google Translate, they understand what I write. Yeah.
But is it a good sign if you receive an email from you in Latin, or a bad sign?
It's probably not a good sign.
Okay.
It's
good to know.
It's
good to know.
Sign, yeah. But sort of, if I look back at it, I this is sort of what I studied, and when I think now, well, if you want to learn somebody another language, why don't we teach them a technical language like Java or something like that? Yeah.
Yes.
Why don't we mix this all up?
Yes.
Because I don't see any reason why you wouldn't be able to study, Kikiro or whatever, and on the other hand also study the latest whatever technology. Why not? Yeah. And I think that's where the whole sort of education system really needs to change. Yeah.
And do you think this also needs to start as from school?
Yes.
Yes.
The younger the better. Yeah, the younger the better. I would really hope that kids in kindergarten, and I know this sounds, very, very not politically correct maybe, yeah, but I'd rather have them play with an iPad than with a wooden train.
Really?
Yes.
That's surprising.
Well, I think it is nice. The wooden train is very nice and so on, but you know what? There's an age where the wooden train sort of disappears from your life, but the iPad won't. But I think here is sort of to get the versatility of mind, because that's basically where the strength of the human mind really is, in its versatility. I think that's what you need to do. I think you need to expose children and later on students and so on to very different experiences and very different thought systems, and flex that brain to the max, just like you as an athlete, you try to flex your physical capacity to the max. I think it's exactly the same. So I really, really am convinced that education is something that is very, very important, and that you need to broaden it up, but also deepen it as much as you can with very different things. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now to come to your famous quote, so maybe I'm just going to read it out. So you've written, for these generations, we need to fundamentally rethink our education system, how we organize work and reward, what inclusion in the workforce really means, and how participation as a valued member of a truly diverse society is organized and rewarded. Yeah. Very beautiful sentence, first of all. And have you seen changes in all those points you have mentioned when you've written those? Like, I don't know when you've written this. Is it 5 or 10 years ago, or 20 years ago?
Yeah, something like that.
So do you see a change in this? And maybe do you think after this year, especially 2020, will there be even a bigger change?
Let me first sort of try and explain a little bit the background why I wrote this. Yeah.
Yes.
It was at least 5 years ago, it's probably longer, where there was a lot of talk about how our society in the future would sort of have a lot more haves and have-nots. Yeah, and the have-nots would have been the people that, you know, wouldn't have been able to get a great education, wouldn't really be able to follow the digital sort of revolution, and would be sort of, because they are doing hamburger type of jobs, would be excluded basically from the workforce, because that all would be automized, robotized, and so on, and people would not find a job anymore. So we would have masses of people that are, call it, that either were not educated or did not have the opportunity to get educated to a certain level, could no longer participate sort of in the economic environment, and would not be able to take care of themselves in that respect, or would not be able to climb what we call the social ladder or anything, but would be outcasts forever. Outcast in the sense that probably at a certain point in time you would have generations where, you know, the father would be unemployed and the kid would be unemployed, and the kid would know the grandfather always being unemployed. Yeah. So it's sort of was that sort of vision that I had, that maybe in the future, where we now have 10% unemployment, we would have 20 or 30 or 40. Yeah. So how do you integrate and sort of have an inclusive policy from a societal standpoint, yeah, for these people, and how do you integrate them in our labor market? What would you do? Yeah. Yes. And that's when I thought, okay, we need to rethink our education system. We really need to do this differently, because, you know, we're going through a phase here where we are too selective in for people to sort of be able to grow and to be economically, you know, independent. And the way we nowadays reward people, yeah, is through work. That is what we do in our society. If you work, you get rewarded. If you don't, you don't. Yeah? And although that might seem today very reasonable and rational and very standard, if you go to a world where 30% or 40% of your population has no more work, or only has 20 hours of work, how will you continue to do that? And I think we need to really, really think very hard how we will make sure that we do not create a society with very different speeds and very different lives. And where I talk about how do you become a valued member of a truly diverse society?
Yes, very good point.
I think that
what is a valued member? Like,
what is a valued member? Because today it's the, I won't say the size of your paycheck, yeah, but it plays, yeah. And if we're gonna sort of withhold that to a big portion of the population in the future, I think we really need to think hard how we do this.
Great. And so, very inspirational quote, first of all. And last but not least, Lieven, what are you looking forward to in 2021? Any New Year's resolution for yourself, for the firm, for the future generation, anything?
I think for the firm, I think this firm needs an enormous party.
I agree.
What this firm really needs is sort of a barbecue that starts at 11 in the morning with cocktails, and 12 hours later we're still doing cocktails and barbecue, and 6 hours later we're still dancing and the sun comes up. This is what the firm needs, I think, first and foremost. And it can't be bad enough, the party. I think it needs to be something that they will talk about as long as they talk about COVID-19.
Okay.
So that's sort of, I think, what the firm really needs. Yeah. So I'm up for it, that's for sure. Me personally, I missed the sun. I really, really missed the sun. Yeah. I would have been a great Egyptian, way back, adoring the sun and sort of saying, let's build another pyramid for the sun. I would have been all of that. Yeah. I really miss the sun. And I think for me, I hope I get a lot of sun in 2021. Sun around the Mediterranean somewhere, preferably sort of with a good glass of wine I've never tasted before, and these things. That's sort of what I really would like to see. But also, I really want to see us transition in this new way of working, in this next normal. And I think one of the major initiatives that we're doing this year is this next normal, where we basically are asking all our new partners to think about how we are going to work past all this sort of misery of the pandemic, and how we will organize ourselves and how we will collaborate and how the world of work will look like, and what joy we can get out of this and what new things we can get out of this. I think that's really, really what I'm looking for in 21. I really want that to sort of to be a year of very material change, where we don't have to hunker down anymore in our own home to sort of be safe and healthy, but that we can go out there and create new things and sort of keep all the good from before the pandemic, but also conserve all the good we learned during the pandemic, and that we get to a lot more, I would say, individualized, versatile, diverse, and inclusive work environment and work practice. I really am looking forward to that.
Great. Then from my side, thank you very much for participating and having us, or being here as a guest today, Lieven. From my side, I'm already saying ciao.
Well, I've been enormously happy to be here and to be able to share some of my thoughts, some of my history, some of my past. And thank you for asking me all these very interesting questions.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.
That's it for today's episode. If you don't want to miss out on our upcoming stories, hit subscribe, feel free to share, and let us know what you think. Thank you for listening, and see you for the next episode of PwC's Casual Side.